Leads. So let's do leads. We talked a lot about, and when we did the first session, we talked a lot about how when you're working with a lead, we have these sections over here, and you can scroll to them by clicking on them or just scrolling. Um, I don't want to cover that too much more. I do want to say one thing is based on everybody has a different workflow, and we've gotten complaints about the way the workflow has been changed. And so we are looking at allowing you to adjust these sections to move them into different orders. And we've gotten a lot of complaints about the spacing on the screen where you're not seeing enough at once. Part of that is because we're trying to build this for mobile as well. And when it comes to mobile stuff, you need things to be big enough for your finger to touch it. And so that's part of the reason for that. But we are looking at ways to condense it as well when you're viewing it on the desktop. So don't worry too much about those. We are on those things. So let me show you here some of the different sections of a lead. Okay. You can see up here in the top, we have our statuses. This is probably very similar to what you're used to when we have the statuses on the top. You can see that we can move our status just by clicking it, just like before. One of the big differences here is that it is not saved until you come down here and click save or save and close. We don't save it until you do that, okay? So you have to click that. In the old version, that was the only thing that you could actually click and change without saving. And it was just very inconsistent. And so, part of the thing that we did was we tried to be more consistent. So that is something that you do have to click the save. The next thing that you're going to see here is our timeline. Okay, now this timeline is set up to be a visual representation of your event, your setup, and your travel. Okay, all of these are going to relate and be similarly colored with the delivery planner that's coming out, and they should somewhat match up right now. We have this drop down over here and these buttons. So I can click here to edit the setup if I want, or I can click here and edit it. And then I can access any of the other ones like the teardown. I can add windows and so forth just by clicking there and doing it. So if I wanted to make a window here, let's see what would make sense. Let's go earlier. We'll do 7 and apply that. So now we see I have a window here. This is when I am telling the customer that I will probably get there for their event. One of the things that we also have added recently is we now track when you plan to deliver based on the delivery schedule, and we will show that on here as well. So you may tell the customer I'll be there between 7 and 7:30, and then when you do your planning, you may actually plan it. So you can see we're planning to get there at 7:30. We always do the extent because we don't know exactly when you're going to show up in there. But if you schedule it for 7:15, we would actually move these around and show that at 7:15. The other thing that you're seeing here, and this is very new, is we're showing you sunrise and sunset. These are actually civil twilight. So sunrise is very different and sunset is very different from when, when is it that I can see? When does the sun actually, even though it's down below the earth there, from down below the horizon, you can still see a lot of times or not see. So we're using the civil twilight start and civil twilight ends because those are, I think, more indicative of when it's going to get dark. So just a little extra for you there. So you can see here we have a gap in this timeline. And this is the whole idea with this was to make it really quick and easy to see how your schedule is, what's going on with your timeline. There are instances, and we try to make this very proportional, but in the case where you have like very large gaps, we can't do that. So if I were to make this, let's see, if I were to take this window and move it like a couple days ahead of time, this would technically be a really, really large gap. Okay, so we couldn't show it that way. These would get so small. So we scale it and try to give you still a good representation of that. Okay. Oops. Let's go here and change that back. So that's our timeline. The next thing that you see in the list here for our lead stuff is the rental selection. This is a lead that's already got some rentals selected for it. If we were to click this, we can see our list of items that we can select for it. It was our decision to hide this for the most part, unless when you're doing a new lead, this pops open automatically. But generally, you know, a lot of times you're looking at this, you don't really need to see that list, and we thought we would just hide it for you. So, but you can always access it. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe add another item. Now I can scroll through here. Again, here's a way to load more if I have more, or I can search it, and that's very quick to do that. I can also, well, I'll show you with the popcorn here. The popcorn is something that has accessories. So we first of all see a required item that just pops on there. It's required. And then we see accessories that are over here. And we can choose that accessory if we want, but we don't have to. We can remove it. This one I can't remove because it's required. If we want to go back to the main list, we just go back like that. If later on we decide we do want to add accessories, we click right here and we can deal with the accessories. This design has enabled us to do more multi-level. And so I think what you're going to see in the future is the ability to have multiple levels of accessories. So I think right now it'll do 3, and we're hoping to continue to improve that because I think it helps you guys with your organization. The other thing you can do is you can choose a category here. And again, this is searchable. So if we wanted to start searching, we could type in some letters. It's going to find the ones that match, and we could pick that category, and we just see that category right there. So we can clear that if we want. So that's how the rental selection works. We're giving you a ton of stuff here with rentals that we never gave you before. So I want to show you a few things that we're giving you here. And again, my primary purpose here is to show you changes, additions, new stuff, okay? We're not going to go into the details of things that you already know based on the other system. First thing you're going to see here is that you can set taxability on all these line items. You normally will set it by what your default is, but you can now come in here, and if you need to, and make a change to that. You can also add a discount. So if I say I want to give them a $25 discount, I can add it to the line item, okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to update this total. I don't know if you saw it change, but we'll go ahead and do it again. We'll just up it to 50. And when we click out of here, we see it's immediately changed the total. This enables you to discount on a specific item as opposed to a discount, which I think is going to be very good as far as keeping tax records. If you decide to, like if this is untaxed, and instead of doing a global discount, which would probably more fairly apply proportionally, you can push that whole discount right into an item that's taxed or untaxed. So probably you would do it this way. You'd want to discount the taxed item and reduce your tax liability. So anyway, so you are now able to do that. We also show you availability. It used to be that we would not give you that information. You'd actually have to put in the requested number that you would want, and then we would show it to you. But now we show you availability immediately. So there was 0 available. Now I'm asking for 2. And again, like the old system, you can click here and you can see what's conflicting with it. Okay. So we'll go back to 1 because that's all we have. The next thing that we can show you here, and I want to show you that real quick too, we show availability over here in this list. I didn't cover that. And then we show a price based on your times that you have set up here. So if I were to change these times, these prices will update. This availability right here tells you immediately what you have available, not what you own. Okay, so that's a big difference. When I add these, I'm adding 1. We don't have a way for you to say how many you want to add. You add 1, and then you come in here and you adjust it, and the price will adjust. Okay. So let's see here. If we go and look at a specific item, any of these are clickable. And when we click them, we get a lot more information about that item. Okay. This is a new thing here. If you want, you can have notes appear on your template specific to that item. So maybe you put in here, we will provide, one operator, or whatever you want to put in here. Maybe you say, you're not allowed to add water. And that can then, that's a template variable that's new, and you can have that show up in your contracts right where they should be. You can also, over here, we're going to show you recommended volunteers and staff just like before. And you can come over here and you can enter in these per unit. This is something new. It used to be that you had to do it globally, and you do not anymore. We also show you here, if you hover your electric, this puts it into maintenance, and this allows you to go to edit the item. And these are how you order the items on the screen. We can't do a click and drag yet. We're going to work to try to do that for you. But right now, if you want to change the order of your items, you just use these arrows right here. So we do still support the global stuff. So you can see your electric down here, your volunteers and your staff. You click edit down here, and you can make a change directly here, as opposed to doing it on the item. But I know some of you have wanted to specify what items you were wanting to go ahead and, I'm sorry, got distracted there for a minute. What items you were planning on staffing and what items you were not planning on staffing. So that's something new that you can do. Additionally here, you're going to see we have our custom time. So if this item is only going to be at the event for a period of time, maybe this is a balloon twister or a face painter, and you just want to specify this is only going to be for an hour of the entire event, it's going to be this hour, you can do that right here. We also have, in the case of vendor items, if you're subcontracting this, those things would be displayed in this section as well. We're trying not to junk the screen up too much, but if you do need some of those more advanced things, you have the ability to pull those open if you want. Okay. So that's the rental section and some of the major differences there. Again, a lot of these things, what you're seeing happen here is we have pulled over all of the tabs into one big page. Okay, so you don't have to save a tab to move to another page to do what you need to do. We're collecting these things all together. And again, you notice all of our times are in the same area, right? Because that makes a lot of sense as opposed to being sprinkled throughout the software. Down below here, this should look somewhat like an invoice to you. That's the intent. We see after we get through our line items, we see some other items here, items that don't have things like availability, quantity, discount, so forth. Those are down here. These are things like our distance charges, any fees or discounts, coupons, and so forth. This is going to work very similar to the old system where you set up, your defaults, and it will bring these things in. This is a demo account. You see it has some weird stuff in it here, but you can, in this case, we have it set up in this account that we're not allowed to adjust the distance charges. So that's great. That's not allowed here. If we wanted to change our setup, we would be able to do that. Again, we have the taxability option here, and we bring your default in to start with. And then we have the ability to add more discounts, fees, or coupons right here. You just would pick it and say, yes, I want to add that. And then pick your coupon off the list, or if it's just a straight discount, you can do that as well. So just ignore those for now. Our subtotals down here, again, I believe we can go ahead and change our subtotal like we could before, and it'll add the discount in to account for it. Okay, so that's actually a positive. That's actually more like a fee. If we were to have gone down to $1,300 even, then we see a $70 discount show up. We have our tax information down here, the ability to change the rate. Also, if you hover over this or click it, it's going to show you what's your total taxable items and non-taxable, because we often will get tax questions. A lot of times that's just needing to understand what's taxable, what's not taxable, and what we're using that rate by to get this number. And then we have our total down here, which I believe you can do a similar thing if we wanted to make this even as well. We do not have percentages brought over yet. So if you wanted to put in a percentage, 10% discount here, that is not, I don't believe that's functional yet. Let me check. Let's see, maybe we did get it done. Oh, I guess we did get it done. So you can put your percentages in there. I think that was something brought up last time. So that does work. I haven't tested it up here. I'm not sure if we make it work up here or not. Let's try it. We're going to learn together. Oh yeah, it does work up there too. So I think in some cases it would be a little strange. I don't know if like 10% would work here. I don't know if it knows what to do 10% of. So that doesn't work because it really doesn't make any physical sense. But so those are available now too. Our deposit information is right down here. All the money we've collected together. Like I said, we're trying to bring it all together. In the deposit section here, this needs change. It's too hard to see here, but you can choose dollar or percentage and put that in if you want to make a change to the deposit, okay? Otherwise, it uses your settings. So that's the reason why you say reset, go back to our settings, custom. I want it to be, 50%. If I click out of there, we see it's changed. So we show our balance due down here, and that way you know exactly what's going on with that. If you are using, if you have a credit, if there's a credit here, we have some stuff with our gift card stuff that you can actually issue a gift card instead of returning the money. We have a button or a link here that'll help you do that in the case you have a credit. Our payment section is directly below, but you can see it's collapsed because you're not always taking payments. So if I were to click up here or click this, it's going to show it. This is something new too. You do not have to open the contract page to take a payment. You can do your payment right here. We support all of our payment providers right in here. And so they will all look slightly different because they are different. But you can take a payment here, or you can just manually add payments like you're used to as well. So that is right there for you. Just looking at my notes here to make sure I'm not missing anything. No, I don't think so. So the venue section is what we have listed next. Venue section is where the event is occurring. This might look different for some of you. Some of these are optional fields that we have turned on. So venue name, venue county, those are fields that we have turned on for this account. Not all of you may have those turned on. There are a lot of optional fields that you can do. And there is a whole video on optional fields on our YouTube channel if you want to watch it. We made some serious upgrades to optional fields to give you a ton of ability to work with optional fields, to place them where you want them, to set the type the way you want them, and to apply them to not only leads, but also customers, workers, or rentals. So if you haven't watched that video, you should check it. So I saw a question about recalculate in the chat, and I just want to let you guys know that we removed recalculate, and that is something we do automatically. As you make changes, we'll say, look, this is probably what should happen. We'll give you these messages, and we went over this earlier, but you can then go through and have it change them or just ignore them, and that does all the recalculating, okay? If you see, like we spoke before, if you see little things here, these are usually links. This is a link to pull the address up in Google or MapQuest. This is a way to copy the address from the customer. So those are useful little things. Learn what those do. If you have an address issue, whether it's not being mapped properly, we allow you to look up the geolocation that we have saved. And if it's not right, you click here and say, I'm going to force a refresh of that geolocation. If you're still getting bad data, looking at what Google thinks about this address, you may find that the address is not formed properly, and you need to maybe adjust the way this address is. The other thing I want to bring up with this is, as you're typing in here, it's going to search different addresses in the system. So these are ones that are in our system here, but if I keep typing, we're going to search a major database, and you can see it's going to start looking at all sorts of states and stuff. So as you start typing the address, I don't even know what to, let's try Columbus. I'm assuming there's one. Yeah. Okay. So you eventually can get to what you're looking for. And I recommend doing this, putting your address in this way, as opposed to going each field, because we're going to be it's going to be more accurate. We're going to make sure that we have the geolocation information properly and so forth. So that's a really good way to do it, and it's a fast way to do it. In most cases, it's not going to look like the demo account looked right there, where it just gave me stuff from all over the place. And see, it's trying to recommend some changes based on our settings here. So because we changed our address. We have our notes down here, event notes, and then we go into our optional fields section. Optional fields is for the leads page, we collect those all together. We don't give you the option yet to separate them into different sections. There's so much going on here that we weren't willing to do that just yet. So you can see these are just some random optional fields that are in here. Again, I encourage you to watch that video. If there's something you're trying to do, a lot of times you can do it through the use of optional fields and templates and automations and all these tools that we give you. So, or if you have questions, we have a group called Rental Pros on Facebook to talk to each other and try to figure out how you can do some of this more advanced stuff. You're welcome to do that, or check our help stuff that we discussed earlier. It can be found up here, our knowledge base and our help forum, as well as you can always contact us. So next section, the customer section. It should not look too different other than the fact that we have our organization link here. So if we have an organization for this person, it links to this organization page. We can pull that up. Link to the customer here. I'm pretty sure we had tags for customers in the old system as well, but those are right here. We have our customer notes section right here. We can make that bigger if you want. And one of the cool things that we have here, though, is, first of all, too, this is an optional field that applies to a customer. We do bring in customer optional fields if you want us to do that, and they will be in the customer section. But this is something that's cool that we added. You can actually do multiple contacts per lead. Okay, so we could type in, another contact, and we can see we have these 2 contacts now. And so we're working on different types of contacts and giving those some special properties. So if it was a billing contact, we'd want them to maybe get emails that were billing related, but not other emails, stuff like that. That's not been worked out yet, but that's the way we're moving with that. We do give you the option to decide if you want to send auto emails, manual emails, or wind alerts to this customer, and so, or this additional contact for this lead only. So you can check those. So that does help you do some of that stuff. But we're going to continue working through some of those things and making that better. So you can do that. The next section is our CRM section. If you're using CRM, you know how this can get busy. This is a demo account, so there's not a lot in here. But we give you the ability to search this. So you can click here and say, I just want to see emails. And we'll just show you emails. Or you can say, I want to also see phone. Or just see phone. You can see phone. You can even search in here for certain keywords, like I'm looking for contract keyword. We were talking about our contract. Oh, right there. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. You can also do some stuff like, clicking this. If it's an email, it's going to actually load it. Okay, so it used to be you could preview that email. Now what we do is when you click it, it loads it in. You can see it. This is what I sent to the person. If I want to resend it, I just send it again. I can alter it and send it if I want. So very convenient. And it has a lot of the other features that you guys enjoyed with the CRM before too. I have an add journal button here. So if you want to add a journal note, it used to be that you had extra line.
More effective.
You had an extra line here to add a journal note in. Now the way you'll do it is you'll click here, it'll open this, and you'll actually add the journal right there. So I haven't done this very much, so I'm assuming, yep, okay, great. It just shows up right there. So, and then we can delete journal notes. We allow you to do that. If you're using workers, there's certain cases that we do and don't let you delete. I think you can delete your own, but not other people's unless you're the admin. So next section is the contract section. And the contract section is going to look a lot different than what it looked like before. we have a lot of the similar things: book date and the date you got the contract back. We have the contract listed right here. Any purchase orders also will show up in this section as well. This contract has already been sent out and signed. If you got it signed and then made a bunch of changes to it, all you would do is come here and make this active. Now my default contract template is active again. I'm not using this one anymore. So if the customer were to click the contract link or you resend it to them, then they'll be able to access that. Now we have to save it first, and not until I save it would that be active. But again, we give you the ability to edit these. Click edit. I can edit my default contract. And once I'm done editing, I have to click add because that's no longer a template. It'll be specifically what I changed it to. We also let you edit, and I don't need to make that active. I don't know if you know this, you can disable contracts as well. So that's something, if you have to cancel that event, you can disable that contract. You can edit one that you've sent out. In certain cases, I think based on whether it's signed and active and stuff like that, there's some rules with editing, okay? And then to email the contract, you can click here, but there's other ways to do it as well. So our shifts area is down here, and that should look fairly similar to what it looked like previously. Let's see if there's any major changes here. I don't think there's any major changes here. But if we were to go ahead and start filling in some information, I think that we must have to save it before we can add our notes to it, but you can add notes to a shift. Oh, that's the notes. So, this is for SMS. So if I want to text the worker, I click that. If I want to email the worker, I click that. You have to be using an iPhone and have the worker set up with a mobile number, which this must not have. So let's see if he has one. No. Okay. But yeah, that's how you would use that. And the rest of that should be very similar to what you're used to. We have our attachments section. The big difference here is that you can add attachments directly now. So you just click add attachment. It's going to bring open, and I don't know if you were able to see that when I clicked it, but it'll bring open a window to select the file on your computer. So you can add attachments that way. You can still email them in if you want. We have our auto email section. And now it's a little different where you actually pick the email and then you'd say, I want to either prevent sending or allow resend of that email. So our survey section is right here, and it's going to look very, very similar to what it looked like before. If we have survey questions answered and stuff, they'll be here. If not, we give you the link to the survey if you want to get to it. Our recurring section, this is new. If you have something that is recurring, let's say you're doing monthly rentals of a porta potty, you could say I have a monthly rental. I want this to recur on the first day of the month. I want it to be created 12 hours before. So the last day of the month, 12 hours before we hit the first day of the month, it will actually create this lead and put it in the system. We actually, with recurring stuff, we will even if it's open-ended and it doesn't have an end date, we will be able to track availability for that stuff, that equipment. You can specify if you want to copy the shifts. So if this is maybe a recurring like maintenance or service sort of thing, you can do that. And then down here, you can say what you want to recur. So you can say, well, I also want the popcorn machine to recur, or, whatever. And you can make adjustments to prices if the initial price is different than the recurring price, and same sort of thing with fees down here. We're not going to do delivery fees, but maybe we still staff it. So you might do that. So that's the recurring area, and that's pretty new. And I believe we have some videos about it, and we do give you some totals down here so you can see what your changes have caused. And then down here is the log. So the log is going to, so I think we used to show an email log and a regular log. We've combined those all into one, and we've made it searchable, and we've made it possible for you to say, I just want to see the email, or I just want to see the user log. You can do that. It'll work very similar to the CRM where you can click the email and it'll load. You can also search some sort of term. So if I'm looking, so when did someone change the volunteer number on this lead? I want to know. Oh, this is when they did it. I can see that right there. Now, I haven't saved this lead in the new system. Let me go ahead and save it real quick. And that way I can show you something new with the log. So we'll go down here to the log. I guess I need to, oh, there it is. It did update it. So it told me it has been saved. So in the new logging system, we don't show all of these unless you click it. Okay, so we still search them, but you actually have to click it to see all of the changes. Okay, trying to make it so that it's not so busy. And so that's why we did that. So you're going to have more like one-line things. But if we search it, I don't even remember something that I changed, we would be able to find it. So let's say Putnam. It's in there. Okay, there it is, Putnam. So that's how that works. And now what you can do is you can export your own log. Oh, you can also set dates. So you can say, if I just want to look at changes made in a certain period, you can do that. And it's going to show you just that period. And then, of course, you can export to a CSV. If you're trying to track down what happened and who did what, and you want to take this list to them and show them what they did, that's all possible. Just trying to make it possible for you guys to do this without calling us about it, because I know it's useful to be able to do that on your own if you can't get a hold of us quickly enough. So, okay, so I've done. Let's see. I think I've gone through everything lead related, other than some of the things that we covered in the first session about the footer and so forth. So if you have some questions about those things, obviously we have a recurring event here because we checked that box, which I should probably change because it's just going to be a mess in the demo account. If you have anything that we didn't go over, I would encourage you to watch previous sessions. We have our YouTube playlist for these switches, and I don't know if Cody can throw that in or something, but we recorded all of the last ones, and so we did this lead one a second time now and covered some new stuff. There may have been things that we explained in a different way in the previous session. Feel free to watch that. The more you guys go through this, the simpler it's going to be. We've had a lot of people that, almost everybody that looks at this says, oh, this is not good. I'm not excited about it. But in the same vein, almost everybody who's used it for a little while will not go back to the old system because it's a lot better in so many ways. So anyway, that said, I'm going to give you guys a chance to ask questions. I don't want to, I think maybe I was a little too forthright before and say that if you have something that you're concerned about, bring it up now in the question time. That's okay. We don't want to get hung up on things that we're planning on changing anyway. So, but go ahead and ask any questions that you have. Just unmute yourself or raise your hand, and I'll unmute you and give you the floor. Okay? While I'm waiting for questions, I did see that someone had asked about doing a pin instead of an actual map address. We don't have a way to do that yet. Either Cody will get that into our list of things to consider, or if you are interested in that, send us an email. The more people that want it or need it, the quicker we try to get to it. Someone asked in the chat here about statuses, basically wanting to have someone who they've contacted and decided they're not interested, that person's not interested. They wanted to maybe move them into a status, somehow set that they weren't interested, so they knew this. You can make a status called not interested. The other option would be to make an optional field that says like, I've contacted them and they're not interested. And then you can filter on either of those, and then also include those in reports if you want. If anybody does want to try out the new UI, remember that it is your live data. It uses the same database. You can go back and forth between them right now. We are hoping to retire the old UI in April. We will, on a case-by-case basis, probably allow some people to have access to that. But for the most part, we're trying to move people away from that so that we can just support one product and do an exceptional job on that for you and make it everything you want it to be. So I really encourage you, after you log in, all you have to do is type in rental software account. Oops. Once you do that, hit enter. It's going to take you, after you're logged in, to the new version. Very simple to do. This is what it'll look like, of course, when you log in or get in there. There will also be a link to go back to the old. It's not showing here in the demo account, but it will be there in your account. So feel free to do that. Any questions? Someone had asked about recurring leads and sending like a cumulative lead invoice. It wouldn't be an automatic thing, I don't believe at this point, but if you went in here to organizations, you would see all of their leads, those recurring leads listed here, and you can, email out an invoice that includes all of those, or open up an invoice page that includes all of those, or whichever ones you want it to include, and then when you take a payment, those payments would be applied to all leads. The percentage of people that have moved over, I have no idea. I would say that it's not very great, but you have to remember we've been using this as our main system for over a year now, probably a year and 3 months. So all of our new customers coming in are only learning the new system. So we have a lot of people using it, a lot of people that have basically been putting it through the paces. Now I know a lot of them are not used to the old system, so they don't maybe know when something's missing that they might want. So there's a chance that you guys will still, I'm sure you guys will still find things. So that's another reason that I would love for you guys to get involved in starting to use it and learn it, so that we can identify different help information. Ooh, that's something I did not cover very well. But we can identify certain help information that we might want to, give to you to make it easier to use the system, as well as just make sure that, if there's something that needs changed, we have the time to figure out how to change it, because it's a lot of work to make some of these changes. So one thing I did not cover, and I should have covered in the first section, was some of our help stuff here that's on screen. So if you see these green dashes, or if you're using Event Office, it'll be orange. That's a hoverable thing, and it'll tell you a little bit more information about that field, okay? The other thing that we are providing now is when you're looking at an item, we have a whole help section, okay? Not all of these are complete yet, but we're working to do this for you. And in this help section, you may find links to videos or other information. And we're not trying to just define terms. I want to make that very clear. We're trying to give you a general understanding of it, and hopefully even a more advanced understanding of it, but also provide you with common uses and examples, so that if you're trying to learn something or do something, these are very good reads, where we do an example right here that kind of helps you understand the power of it and what you can do with it. And I think in many cases, as you go through this information, it's gonna spark something in your brain, and you're gonna say, "Oh, I didn't realize I could do that way, and I can save myself a ton of time, and I can track something I've never tracked, and so forth." So I do encourage you guys to look at the help information, and that's going to be on pretty much every entity or every item that you could go to. And like I said, we haven't done them all, but we've done a lot of them. This one's probably going to get reworked because that's very small. But yeah, there's There's, some of them just don't require a whole lot, but even the referral one has a ton here. So here's an example of a video. I'll take any other questions you guys might have here, and then if no one has any other questions, I'm gonna give my voice a break, and we'll resume at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock session will be rentals. Go through one more thing with you on the leads page here, and then this is a change that was made just recently. We have the search area here. We had an advanced search that was above that in that space. We've moved it and hidden it just because we want to. It's not common that people use it, and we wanted to get rid of some confusion. But if I type in a search term, you'll see that I can just. I'm searching on this keyword right now, and it's searching certain fields, which we call common fields. Okay, I can say I just want everything that hits a common field that has this phrase in it, or I can specifically say, oh, I just want this guy, this John Smith organization, or I just want anything that's 1234 Johnson Avenue in the lead address. So you can actually choose, the field and the search term and so forth. These show you actual results that are in your database. However, there's certain things that are missing, and one of the things that I use fairly frequently when I'm working in this software is customer tags. So if I were to click the advanced search, I can come in here and I can change this, and I say I want to search all fields, or I just want to specifically search the tag. So I'd come in here and then I'd type in whatever tag I'm looking for. I don't know of a tag that we would have in here on this database, but I'm not even searching the right thing. I would do it up here. So I'd come back up to the search bar to do it. Trying to think of a tag that might be in here. So yeah, there's no tags that match, but in this case, the only thing I'm searching, and you would see contact tag, and all the matches that we would come up with. All we're searching in this case is this tag name. So, and we can change that. We have a few things like filters would be a common one that you might want to say. I don't want to see all the information. I just want to know, I'm just looking for a filter. And then you can hide this again. We're searching filters right now. Just so you know about that. Oh, I'm glad I just covered that on accident for you, Edith. All right, guys. I haven't heard any other questions or seen any other hands raised. Thank you, guys. Again, feel free to send in any information to our support team. It's going to be a busy support season for us as we're moving you guys over here. So, be patient if you can. Ask each other questions on Rental Pros. That's our Facebook group. And we'll make sure we help you out. Okay. And please continue giving us the good ideas that you always give us. We appreciate that. So I'm going to take a break. And if you do think of a question later, you can ask it at the end of the next session. Thanks, guys.